Hey there, Marc Elias, Red One Realty. Today we are here with Abigail Swihart Valentine.
You got it.
I got that.
You got
right?
it. First time.
How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah, before we began shooting, I was like, oh, due to anxiety, I'll never get your full name correct.
You did great. It's really easy in the investment world to work with little or no things. And investment real estate is just so different than our typical, like I will call it retail residential real estate. You're dealing with completely different thought process. And with the investors, I have a couple of really wonderful investors that I just love working with. But it is really money focused. It is for profit, and there's not a lot else associated with it. You get some people that really want to do good work and take pride in it. You get some that don't. So I think it's important, especially for young investors. You want to get new clients, but really look down the road if that client is just using you, or, are they going to take your opinions into place? Are they going to listen to you when push comes to shove? And making sure you're surrounded with the ones that listen and respect and appreciate you. Because it's really easy to run tons of CMAs and place so many offers on MLS. And you don't want to be working, without any of your cup being filled back up. And I think that's a really dangerous thing, especially new investors or new agents want to work with investors, and investors can have you running around like rampant if you're not careful. What I do and why I do it and how I do it all has to have some sort of meaning behind it. And 90% of the time it's about my relationships. And I want to be with people and associated with people that I can help. I can help affect their life for the positive. They affect my life for the positive. It doesn't need to be a totally symbiotic relationship because we're in a service industry. So usually it's us serving the client more. But it's very focused on relationships and quality of relationships. And I am no longer of the belief that quantity is going to yield me a better business model. It's not going to yield me like happier results. And if it doesn't make me as much money, then it just doesn't make me as much money, and I'm just going to deal with it.
Yeah. How did you find your investing clients?
Well, it started super organically. I was working at the Apple store in college just to make money. And Don Kenny, who's a predominant real estate developer in Columbus, walks in. He ended up being a friend of my dad's and very successful. And I was like, I want to be like him. So I ended up working for him after college, and I just started networking. I had the honor of working with the Weiler Company, the Kennys, and you might know them, the gentleman that developed Bridge Park. So I worked with all of those different entities and in a commercial setting. And I found that I bought my first house, and I bought a rental with it, and it kind of just naturally progressed that like I want to be more and more involved in this. I want to be where those people are. So I left, and I ended up working for a flipper. His name is Dustin Faith with DF Premier Homes. I worked for him for a couple of years and really got to network on a ground level with day-to-day investors. So I was fortunate to work with these multi-millionaire development tycoons in Columbus to people that have like small packages of rentals, 5, 10, 50, 100 rentals in Columbus, to the gentleman that developed thousands of rentals. So I just got really lucky working for Dustin. He taught me a lot, and I just found the power of networking and helping people out in the day-to-day grind of it really opened me up to a lot of investors. Okay. I have 35 rental units.
You what?
Yes, I have 35. I wanted 30 before 30, and I accidentally came out with 35.
You have 35 rental units.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage 35 rental units?
It's not easy. I have an assistant that works full time for me, and she's wonderful. Her name's Victoria, and she manages the day to day of answering phone calls, text messages, work orders. And then, weekly, I'm meeting with her and just making decisions. But no, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah. So you hired a full-time assistant.
Yes.
She takes requests for maintenance, management, questions, concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those will be escalated to you. Some of them she'll deal with on her own.
Exactly.
Who does the fixes?
So we have like a list of approved vendors that I've helped like formulate over the years, like networking wise, people that have worked for my investors or locally that we just have on an approved list. She can go ahead and call or text.
Can you explain a little bit about how you acquired your properties financially?
That's really hard. That was like one of the hardest parts. I bought my first rental when I was 21. I bought my first house at 20, and then I pulled equity out of the house I lived in to buy another rental. And I bought it not really knowing what I was doing. I was lucky that my boss at the time wrote a letter of recommendation to this bank that he borrows a lot from. So I had a little bit of a leg in there, but I had to cover the down payment myself. So I was like flipping clothes on Poshmark, and like I was flipping Jordans and Yeezys and all these different like shoes online to make money. And there I came up with like $14,000 for a down payment on maybe it was like 18 because it was a $60,000 house and I had to bring like 25% down. It was like a lot. And that was the first one. And then from there, I met another banker through friends that was able to help me pull equity out of that house to buy two more. And that was kind of my snowball effect. I bought a couple more that year, refinanced them into longer term commercial like blanket portfolio loans.
How do you identify the right property that fits your investment profile?
So at first you don't really know, right? Like you can just like guess and throw a dart at a board and hope for the best. I always try and get at least 2 or 3 bedrooms. 4's obviously the best, but you want to make sure that you've got multiple exit strategies. And I think a lot of investors will talk about that. If this doesn't work, I can do this. Especially when you're newer, you want to make sure that your numbers really work on that first and second one because you're saving all this money. I'm like flipping shoes at clothes to save for this down payment. This is really going to suck if I have to go and do it all over again. It's really important that you hit like a single or double your first one, or just break even. But I think that understanding what the rents are, what your all-in will be, and then what you can sell it for usually helps answer like that question. There's your purchase price, there's your rehab, there's your holding costs, which everyone that I work with, especially when you're new, you forget about the holding costs. What is the cost of time? And when you're buying your first rental, it's so easy to be like, I'll be done with this in 2 weeks and I'll have a tenant in 3 or whatever. And that's just not how it works. It's better to assume it's going to take 4 months or 5 months for all these things to happen. And then the cost of getting the new loan, especially in this lending environment right now, it's not friendly.
Yeah.
It's turbulent and it's changing day to day. So really having the right connections with the right lenders, because lending is very expensive right now. I quickly and humbly learned that the money that I was making is not equating to my happiness levels. Nothing really made me realize that more than my dad getting very sick. And he got super sick the time I was making a lot of money. And I've shared this before, but there's nothing that messes with your brain more than trying to achieve something for so long. Like I just wanted to have a cool car and a nice house and cool clothes and a designer handbag and all this stuff. And then you get it and you get this amount of money in your bank account you hadn't seen before. And you realize like none of this matters. Like it was I was like in my car crying, like none of this matters. What the heck? So long-winded way to say that it's really easy for me to say that because I saw it. Like clear as day, black and white as it was happening, that money didn't really affect my happiness level. And I felt that I was just as happy, or if not, maybe more happy, when I was like sitting in my small little house in Worthington with my roommates eating like mac and cheese on a bar stool, like at the counter. And that is just like a wild revelation I've had. So it's really changed my business model, frankly.
Yeah. What do you think your dad would be most proud of right now that you're
Oh,
doing?
That's a good, deep question. And you did swing out there. Man, that is out of left field. I mean, I think he was really proud of me. Like, I think he knew. He didn't really get to see, what makes me sad is he didn't get to see, like, not that this matters, like the house or like the fruits. Like, it was just as he was dying and then he went into hospice. I think he would just be proud that I've, did what I said I was going to do. And I don't think he really cared about the money as much as me being strong on my own and able to juggle the day-to-day of everything. I think, he was an investor himself. He had over like 100 units at one point, good friends with Don Kenny, and he ended up selling a lot of his portfolio. And he became a professor later on. So he had a very different path, and he really wanted me to take the education path and becoming an attorney or something like that. I think he'd be proud that I was able to do my own path and succeed in that way, my own way, like I said I was going to do, like I actually did it. I think that probably, and I think he'd just be proud that I am a person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And it might not be pretty, and I might not always have to deliver the best news, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to be honest.
So my mom passed away just as I was having my second child. We were thinking of moving to Columbus, and she hasn't seen any of the things that
I'm so sorry.
built and created for myself.
You were in a whole different city.
Yeah. And so I totally understand what that's like.
Right.
And it's a great feeling to have a parent posthumously.
Yes.
That's a word.
That is.
Yeah. Be proud of you.
My goals now are more day to day. Where is life going to take me, while I'm making good decisions for myself. So I do have like a set of things. Is this going to make me happy? Is this something future me would be proud of? Is this benefiting me, monetarily? Am I going to make money from this? And am I able to help someone? There's different things that I have in the back of my brain in order to do something. But I don't have something right now that's like 10 years down the road. I think maintaining my rental portfolio and adding to it and evolving that in some way is in my future. I envision myself staying licensed and helping people. But I do see myself evolving my career in some way, maybe in development or something into larger investments. Like that has always like spoke to me.
What actions do you take to create discipline and routine in your life?
Well, the most simple answer is through like my iCal. Yeah, I'm a big like iCal girl. Everything's color coded.
Okay. And everything's color coded?
Yeah, everything's color coded.
How many colors are there in your iCal?
Probably like 5. And
5 colors.
Workout and my husband's schedule. I have my schedule. I have like bills, appointments, and then I have like marketing tasks. So I do try to utilize technology for good. I try and time block like, okay, this is when I'm going to get my marketing done for the week. This is where I'm going to shoot my content for the week. Obviously built around my client schedules of when they need to see things. So I have that every day. I work out like every day. I need it like mental health wise. I need to move my body usually first thing in the morning. So it starts off on like a good note. And then the other thing I'm utilizing more and more is my Calendly. It is something that syncs with my iCal and it tells others when I'm free. So if someone wants to book a call with me, I just send them the link. They can pick a time and then it's booked for 30 minutes. And the 30-minute time block for them sets expectations. Like I can be on the phone with you for 30 minutes because I will talk to people for hours. I'm just that gal. Like I'll continue. So setting like really intentional time blocks helps me day to day move. And then if I can't get to it, I just move it. Like, okay, like today was a crazy day. I couldn't get my marketing done. Move it to the next one. And that's mostly how I stay disciplined.
You've been around a lot of successful people,
Yeah.
people that have acquired wealth and are well known in their, in their given industry. What do these successful people have in common?
Wow. It's actually funny you say that because I think that the ones that had the most wealth, I'm going to speak more to early Abby in her corporate days and in the development world. You would never know that they had that money. I mean, you'd see them drive like a black Mercedes, but they'd be wearing like jeans, a nice belt, a button up, or a polo. And you wouldn't really know that they had a ton of wealth. But one thing that most of them did would be they'd be more interested in like what I had to say. I remember I was at a party and Skip Weiler was there, and I remember talking to him about my first rental, and it was in Bexley. It was near Bexley, and that's where the Weilers are from. He was so intent on listening to me about my first rental, and I was like, it's not that good. Yeah, like they're only paying like $750 a month, and it was like it's something. And it was interesting that someone that successful and affluent could take time and listen to someone like me who really didn't have anything at the time and really like focus. And it was about me. It was interesting because I left that conversation being like, he made me talk more about myself than him. And I wanted to hear like, and then it, makes you think like, that's how they think. The best advice I got from a mentor of mine, when I first started looking at rentals, he said, you should be evaluating 50 or 100 rentals before you buy one. I think it's really important to practice your numbers. And I didn't do 50. I didn't do 100, I'll tell you that. I probably did like 13 or 14. But I got good, like I was good enough at running the numbers that when I did see the right one, I knew to strike. And I think that doing your homework, there's something really beautiful about doing your homework and practicing. And I don't see a lot of people doing that enough. I think it's just so easy if you've got $10,000 in the bank, oh, I'm going to go buy this. But be really thoughtful and diligent about your money and like what you're doing with it and why. Because it's pretty easy to get like hard money lending these days. As long as you have good credit and a little liquidity and like some experience, you'll get money. That's not the problem. The problem will be you finding the right property and executing it correctly. And that comes from discipline. That would be my advice to Red One agents. If you're looking to buy your first rental, which I do think people should own rental properties. I don't think everyone should manage their own rental properties, but I do think people, especially being in real estate, we have access to all of these different things. You should own investments. And I've always believed that. I've always believed that owning investments just gives you other exit strategies in life.
I believe our biggest challenges are our most meaningful learning and growth opportunities.
I agree completely with that. Mm-hmm. The biggest challenges that we see aren't something we want to do. Mm-hmm. Like if it was easy, everyone would do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing I genuinely believe in. Brad Clarizio taught me this. It's not that we're lucky. We're fortunate. And we're fortunate because we put the time in and the effort in that no one sees. And then you see it. People are like, oh, she's so lucky. I'm not Britney Spears here. Like I am doing a lot of hard work at night, like, past dinner at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And then I wake up and I work out and I do the same thing. And a lot of those things have now come into benefits and I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. And now I'm kind of like taming it into a more palatable schedule, like something I can actually do every day while having a husband and the house and the dogs and stuff.
Awesome.